patient-driven, designed to deepen their understanding of their own experience. It's been quite successful so far. We've seen many different cases in this treatment modality, being able to really hone in on what it is that the seniors are struggling with and provide the support that they need, connecting them to other programs in the community if that's warranted. And so, yeah, this has been another great program that we've been rolling out lately. Lastly, but certainly most not least, is the case management services that we spoke about before. Our case managers are really sought after in the clinic, doing all of these different services. And really what we've seen over the past 5 years is that for the most part, of course, there's a lot of different reasons for patients to come into the clinic, but the stress that these psychosocial needs add to patients' lives is tremendous. And I'm sure many of you see all of that in the community. And so when these needs are addressed, the patient's mental health symptomatology definitely most certainly decreases. So this is really the support that a lot of the patients really need, in addition to some of the treatment. Lastly, we wanted to thank you all for having us. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to help serve the community with all of you. And so we are really happy that you invited us to come and further build the connections with your committee to learn from you all about how we can continue to best serve the community. So thank you.
Thank you. One of the concerns I've always had is, trying to find enough places for seniors to be referred to. That isn't, a general psychiatry forum, because the seniors certainly have their own needs and unique in a lot of ways, although similar in a lot of ways. But, I think, as children are, seniors are, a unique group. So we want to get our own kind of treatment that will suit us. And trying to, find places in the city is very, very difficult. And then when you do find something, there's a waiting list of, forever, months, a year. So that's, I'm so happy that this, exists. In fact, Deborah Gross, who was working at the Y, called me for your email address so that she could send somebody to you. So, yeah. So anybody else? Liz?
Yeah, I don't know very much about your psychiatric services for seniors. I know a lot about your psychiatric services for adolescents. And while your services are in general excellent, if one can avail themselves of them, your referral process consists of a large packet of information that says here are the places that you can go for outpatient services, which if you are in the middle of mental health crisis, or if you are the affiliate adult responsible for finding care for someone who is in the middle of a mental health crisis, you absolutely do not have the bandwidth to do. So that's a general failure on the part, and it's not just you, it's everybody. That is an absolute failure on the part of the medical system and the psychiatric healthcare system. Presbyterian is at Columbia is in no way unique in that, but I'm just wondering, the senior population has a particular barrier to entry. And I'm wondering, what are you doing to address that? Because great services are useless if people cannot avail themselves of them.
Thanks, I'm happy to try to address that question. One of the things that we have focused on, and I think that with Dr. Friedewitzer and Dr. Alice's presentation shares that a focus of our innovation is on access.
Mhm.
So we actually, for our seniors and our adults, there are no forms to fill. So for children and adolescents, because of school and education and other things, there's often rating forms and screeners that are part of that evaluation system. But for adults, we don't have that. So it's a telephone screen. Part of what we try to do as a part of that telephone screen is that we know that there are a lot of barriers, language, literacy, access. So what we do is we actually have a whole access system that triages safety and security first. So if you need urgent care within the community, you're prioritized to actually get fast tracked to be seen and to be evaluated. The nice thing is that we didn't separate out our geriatric psychiatry program separate from our adult program. We actually embedded it within our adult program so that we're not limited by the wonderful talents of Dr. Friedewitzer and Dr. Alice. We actually have the access to the entire adult outpatient psychiatry team. So they function as consultants to the other clinicians who are also providing mental health services for seniors, because we know that it's a specific expertise which they have, but then they can also help the other psychiatrists, psychologists, nurse practitioners, social workers provide a more higher level of expertise in geriatric psychiatry. And so they actually have a weekly consultation team for all of the adult psychiatry staff who might have questions. Hey, I'm seeing like a 62-year-old, I'm seeing a 72-year-old, I'm seeing an 81-year-old who has particular questions. And so they're able to get that expert consultation. So just to, I totally agree with you that access is a challenge throughout the system. We've been trying to address that by creating a lower entry point for access to care, but we prioritize safety first. So if you're in a crisis, you're going to be prioritized for being seen and evaluated. And we have telephone triaging for anyone who does call in and request services. And we've really worked on that in the last couple of years, because we know that waiting lists and long lines and more barriers to filling out forms is really getting in the way of people getting the help that they need. The other thing I would say is that since Dr. Friedewitzer also works embedded within our primary care programs, our ACN outpatient clinics, so people who are going to see their primary doctor, their internist, their physician, and they present with memory issues, depression, anxiety, they can also get immediate consultation, because otherwise, for some of those seniors, getting their care through their primary care clinic is more comfortable for them. There's stigma, there's other areas, or seeing another person. So Dr. Friedewitzer also gives direct consultation to the internist, the physicians, to initiate medication treatment or follow up with community-based resources, or also see some of our embedded social workers within our primary care programs, so that we can have more access to care, especially where the senior is at. So a senior might not necessarily want to be referred to a mental health clinic, but they want to see their primary care doctor and get their care there. So we're able to do that as well. So I think, yeah. So.
And could I add one
Yes.
thing? And I think one of the things that the clinic just created, answering to that difficulty with access, was sessional care.
Okay.
To increase the access, so a short-term targeted, service, that we've been seeing a lot of seniors, of course, adults, also young and older adults, but the seniors, they're coming in, we're targeting 6 weeks, in order to be able to increase the access. So we're short-term targeted, and when they achieve their goal, maybe by medication and therapy, and they're stabilized, what I do is I connect them with the primary care from the community, which I work with an NYP. They will continue the medication, so then we could get more, we could access and we could see more seniors.
Got it.
That's the sessional care that.
So I have a follow-up question. Well, it's
Okay.
not a follow-up question, it's a different question. And that is, as we age, our metabolism changes. significantly. And there are a number of symptoms that will present as a psychiatric problem that is not actually a psychiatric problem. It's a side effect of medication that the person is on. So like the whole metabolic thing changes. I know you know that, you're all nodding your heads and that's great, but what's happening, and you may not be able to answer this, but what's happening on the primary care side? That, I mean, gerontologists know this, but regular primary care doctors often don't. So if you've been seeing your primary care doctor for a very long time, they may not recognize what's presenting as a psychiatric symptom as a side effect of, you know, blood pressure medication or any one of a number of medications that are pretty common for aging people. So what, if anything, is?
I'm just gonna
happening
say
with
what I, my part on this, because I do work with all the primary cares in the community from, the hospital. And, some of them are not gerontologists, like you said, but I think, because they have access to me, I'm not just saying me, to the entire, mental health department in the clinic. We really, this is why the comprehensive understanding of, as you said it very well, the psychiatric symptom is just a manifestation of other medical issues. And so, and as physician, we provide that understanding to them. And I said, what's happening medically? Can we check on this? Can we check on that? Is it a thyroid problem? Is it a neurological problem? I always feel, and this is what the training in geropsych is, that the psychiatric symptoms that present only in the elderly as the first time, they're usually a manifestation of a medical illness. And that's why I, collaborate with the neurologist, with the primary care physician. Can you order this? Can you check on this? Treating the depression with an antidepressant is not what's gonna treat the illness. Please check the thyroid. I see it's elevated. So that's what, my expertise and many of my colleagues, and I have to say, many of the psychiatrists in the clinic are very experienced with, complex medical issues, especially, training CL, consultation liaison psychiatry. And that's what it's,
Thank you.
Yeah.
hope I answered.
It's a
Yeah.
great question, and that's exactly why some of the education that we provide also to our community and community partners, we also provide to our primary care programs. And with Dr. Frida Witzer, who coordinates with the medical directors of all the primary care clinics, excuse me, they can always access, ask a question or review a consultation. And those are the things that we want to sensitize our larger community to. Because I think, as you're saying, treating seniors requires an additional level of curiosity because it's not as straightforward. And so having Dr. Frida Witzer and the team provide support to our primary care clinic is really critical. The fact that she's actually embedded and supervises psychiatrists who work within those settings is another way where we can sort of elevate the approach to the entire team. So we're very strategic, thinking about, there's not enough of us to go around to meet all of the needs. So we're really wanting to work within teams to help sort of create more synergy, but also increase our impact by increasing education awareness, as well as an ability to treat seniors with living with mental illness.
Great, James.
I have a question. Yes, thank you. So you have these relationships with the senior centers and you have outreach with primary care physicians. What is available for the homeless population and how do you acquire or how do you gather them into your community?
You're asking about the people who are homeless?
Yes.
Or unstably housed?
Yes.
So if they are, usually, if they have access to any of the health services, say if they're seeing a primary care provider in our system, they can refer directly to us. They can also call our intake line directly. So for people who are unstably housed, we definitely wanna help provide through the case management more stability in their housing. So do they need housing support? Do they need case management assistance?
Mhm.
And so those are the things that we often prioritize. We are open to any referral coming to us. If they're coming through our health system, then we coordinate with whomever is making that referral. We see housing instability as a part of one of the social determinants of health. And so that's a part of how we approach health comprehensively. So I don't think it would be any different from how we approach care from any other individual.
But I mean, if a homeless person doesn't have a facility to go through those channels, can they just walk in off the street, or, you know, is your outpatient care accessible to someone walking, coming in off the street, say?
I would say that someone who's walking in, say if they walk into the clinic and they're seeking services, we will definitely speak with them about how we can connect them and coordinate their care. It's part of our Office of Mental Health, OMH licensed facilities, also sort of encourage all of us to meet people where they're at. Now, whether or not we have someone available at that moment to provide the care, et cetera, that would require some coordination because we don't have all of our staff on site all the time. But that's something that we would then coordinate. So if someone were to, we encourage people to call if they don't have the phone, then they can walk into our clinic, speak to one of our staff members. That's something that we can coordinate.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of Zoom people that have questions, and I want to see if I can.
Mary, and I think that we missed one slide that we should have done, which is our phone number, you know, and we
Yes.
wanted to leave it to you. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
That, you know,
It's 212-305-2157.
Mhm.
And this is to, if anyone is interested in services, this is actually for a number for all of adults, but you know, you could specify in that call that you're interested in the geriatric program. And this is just for setting up an initial evaluation.
Okay, thank you.
the ABC intake that was developed, you know, and they answer, you leave a message, they will call you back right away. And I mean, through the hospital, the referrals are done through Epic, you know, like the primary care settings will send the referral through a form and we see it, but I think that's the number for the community. When we first started, Mary, and I think a lot of the seniors know, we had a referral form and we have improved on all this. It's just calling that number easy. And that's when Deborah Gross called me yesterday, you know, because she has some elderly members from the Y that she moved to
Right.
Midtown, you know.
Right.
We're trying to serve everybody what we can. So she's in Midtown and the person was connected to Sina and she said, well, they're not taking any patients. It was sent it to us and we try to, you know, so we're trying, you know, but like
Mhm.
Dr. Lee said, it's just a number of us, you know, and I wish there were more, but you know, so we're trying to be creative. Or he's the head of the innovation creation and the entire Washington Heights. I can't think the
Oh, you're
credit for
too
that.
kind.
No, I can't take the credit. That's why I brought him in.
We try to prioritize safety and sort of crisis first. Because those people need service the most quickly, and we also prioritize location. So if you're calling and you live in Brooklyn, there may be resources more close to you that are more helpful because transportation is always an issue. So we try to prioritize folks who are living in northern Manhattan. And also those that might have more medical complexity, because those are coordinating their medical care with their psychiatric care is really critical because of the medications and the other things. So we often see, because we are a part of the medical center, seniors who are very medically complex. And it's easier for us to provide the care than, say, a community mental health provider who might not have access to the entire medical chart. Because we want to make sure that everything is working together and that we're actually helping, not harming.
So if somebody comes in, what's the turnaround time on getting a referral roughly?
Well,
I mean, I know that you can't really answer that, but like broad strokes. What's a reasonable expectation?
Well, I think it's based on what their needs are. So I think that if they were to call our intake line and they were to present, like, these are the things that I need, what we often do is we provide them with sort of the list of options. Would they like, some people say, I don't want to come in, I just want telehealth. And so what we don't do is we don't do just telehealth. We do in-person evaluations for all of our assessments, because we believe that's the standard of care, that's the best, because we identify things that people
Sure.
might not necessarily have. So say if I only wanted telehealth, then what we'll say, okay, here are a number of different great opportunities for you, because if you want to just do it within your home, that's an option as well. I think that the turnaround time to actually getting like a phone intake is usually within 1 or 2 weeks. If you're calling in, we triage what the immediate issue is. So that we can get a sense of what your needs are. And then based on that, we
Naomi,
can either schedule them for an evaluation within the first few weeks. But I would say that it's really based on need. Say if I'm calling in, I'm in crisis, then we might see them that week or the latest the following week, because we want to see people quickly before they get worse. So I think it's really tiered based on safety, security, risk first. And then based on what each person wants. We get people who call in who just want information. They want community support. They want to know what they can do. So we do a lot of different things to provide support for that person to get what they need. And some people say, oh, I only want to see someone who can do home visits, or I only want to see someone who is in the neighborhood.
So, okay, so what if you have somebody who is not in crisis, but is in, you know, is having a difficult time coping, is in a state of, to use a non-clinical term, you know, deep overwhelmment. They're late middle age, not, you know, not super senior, ambulatory, but have, say, recently had a difficult diagnosis. So, and they're in treatment for that, but they're dealing with, you know, whatever. They got a kidney diagnosis, they got COPD, they got something
Yes.
that's serious, it's being treated. They need mental health services. They're not suicidal, they're not anything. They're just, they need somebody to talk to. What's that look? Because I think that's a big chunk of,
which I've
I mean, I
sent
think
some
I've just
information to you,
described
but I
everybody in
can't
that.
unmute them.
so, you know, what's the turnaround on that? They
There's
come in
the-
for a visit, but you
nothing
know,
on the
probably
side.
telehealth is maybe preferred, but I mean, I don't, what's that look like?
What that looks like exactly what that person needs. So what we do is we individualize what that person needs, how they would like to receive the
Yeah,
care,
that's right.
and then they make the choices. We can provide an evaluation for them on site if that's something that they're open to.
Yeah, I mean, there are people.
But I would say that there isn't any one size
There are
fits
people on
all.
the
Say
meeting.
if they're seeing their
Thank you.
primary
I don't see
care
it.
and their physician is
Nice.
one of our
It's
clinics.
here.
What we may do is we might say, you know what, we have a social
One of the
worker in that
things
clinic who
is
can
that I
see you.
wasn't a
So then we'll
co-host, so that
coordinate
was why,
within,
but I
like,
don't know.
So we ask specific questions like, are you already in treatment? Are you seeing someone? Because some people call in and they're already seeing someone.
Right.
And then what we do is we say, well, maybe you need more to your care, or maybe you can talk to your.
Let me see what I can do.
provider.
I'm listed as a co-host.
If
Would I
you're
be
in
able to?
primary care and you're a part of our
Yes.
ACN.
You
Not-
are
network,
a co-host,
then
No,
what we often do is we
no?
have embedded social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists within those programs. And so one of them will then probably be also available. You give them that option. Would you like to be seen in your primary care clinic, or do you want to be seen in our mental health clinic? And so then they make that, what we'll do is we'll make that linkage for that. But I would say that people are very individual in terms of what their needs are. And part of our program coordinator and intake process is really trying to match people with what options are best for them. So not one size fits all. But if they would like to come in, we do an evaluation and then we do an assessment on what they need.
Cool, thank you.
I have one more question, unless somebody else.
No, go ahead. I covered a couple of the Zoom people, but I can't unmute them, so I've been usually working on that, so.
Does NYPD make referrals to you guys as well?
NYPD.
New York Police Department, 34th precinct?
I don't think that they've made,
Okay.
you know, there may be other. For NYPD, I mean, we would take referrals from whoever calls us, but I don't recall them necessarily referring to us. They may, because with NYC Well, as well as 988, there's also some specific coordination with NYPD on urgent crisis services. There's mobile crisis program that we have also within the community. That is also through NYC Well or 988.
And what is that 988?
It's like 911 for mental health.
For mental health.
Okay.
It's 911 for mental health, so it's 988, and then what they do is they also have an immediate person who can speak to you by phone. It's not just resources, but also for people who want immediate support by telephone. That's also available, so 988 is a great resource.
Thank you.
Okay,
I just want to say one thing, you know, just a little bit of my background. When I first moved into Manhattan, I worked at the old psychiatric institute before research on the children's unit. And we had the children's unit and they were considering opening an adolescent unit. They asked me if I wanted to be the head nurse on the adolescent unit, and I said, no. And as my daughter grew up, I was so happy that I did not say yes to that because there was no way that I could have tolerated any more adolescent behavior than I had at home. But, yeah, so, you know, I was there during the transition to research, but there was, you know, there was like I said, the children's unit, there was the community unit, and there was, you know, some other stuff going on, but the transition to research was interesting. I did a lot of nursing stuff, you know, like coming up with evaluation forms, we were, you know, setting different medications back in the day. And I'm so thrilled to see this kind of thing happening because it's, you know, it's like I moved from there to adult inpatient psychiatry over at St. Luke's when it was St. Luke's, and, you know, retired from there. So, and again, I did not have geriatric psychiatry. We had a whole, you know, the unit was so mixed that it was pretty tough going because we had the young schizophrenics and then we had the geriatrics all on the same unit. So it was not an easy task.
Hey, Mary. I did psych administration at Bellevue and I was responsible for the children and the adolescent units and adult units. You made the right choice.
Well,
Bellevue in the 80s.
I knew it when my daughter turned about 13. I said, oh, no.
Yeah. Those were the days.
I think I can, let's
is
see.
there any reason why we're not able to see the participants who are at home on the screen?
Yeah, there's a number of things going on. I have to address that as well.
There seems to be like
However,
a different.
I think that I can now unmute.
App, something or other.
That's messing
that
everything up,
is-
because normally
Let me see.
everyone is, all the senior center administrators are, and they are here, I think they're hearing us, but we're just not seeing them.
Exactly.
I think
We've
because
got,
they're not
I can tell you that we have Carol Weeks from Dykeman. We have
We do.
Dory Garcia.
Oh,
From,
hey,
uh,
Dory.
Hi, Dory.
Hey, Carol,
I
hey,
think
Alana.
because they're not, so usually.
They're not, they weren't upgraded
They're
to,
not panelists, so
Yes.
usually you're
Right,
just. gonna
There's
turn-
exactly.
You're just.
Oh,
gonna
hey,
turn-
hey.
See, I usually
Panelists.
That was just you
convert
right now?
everybody to panelists so everybody can.
there they
go
are,
back and forth.
okay.
There they are.
And now they can,
Yeah.
unmute themselves, so Richard's here, I can't.
Because Richard had his hand up as well. Richard was part of the
Well,
committee
he's
as
the only one
well.
who was upgraded, he's the
Yeah,
freaking flyer.
Richard 2.0.
Yeah.
Well,
Richard-
here we go, Miller, here we go, now they're here.
Yeah, okay, Richard, you had a question, yes, please, go.
No, it was going to be a request to be upgraded. It's been a very difficult journey getting into this meeting this morning at about 5 or 6 different levels. I think that would merit executive committee review, how notification and connection is happening.
Yeah,
Okay,
there
sorry,
was a lot of technical stuff this time.
Also, I'm aware, I guess you just mentioned her. Dory Garcia is usually promoted. And she's on the call.
Carol Reese
Yeah.
is here. Miriam James is off the committee.
I'm sorry,
Miriam James is supposed to.
Miriam James is no,
She's not supposed to. be.
nowhere.
No, I mean, Nancy Matos, done.
Nancy Matos is not a committee member. I
I'm
don't know where you adopted that name from.
With us.
Got it, okay, I'm just looking at old things, okay, so Dory's
Yeah.
here, Carol's here.
Just get rid of that,
Ah,
that name.
okay, good.
It's like,
Someone just fixed everything.
okay.
Almost.
And Richard, Dory and Carol are on Zoom.
No,
That's
I
part of it. So, yes,
we came up with the big kids finally.
Good, they're here, perfect, good. Okay, so let's keep going then. Okay, what's next, next?
okay.
So,
Carol,
quick question, do you
Let's
want
see.
everyone promoted to panelists?
So that you can see them.
Yeah, yeah, if you can. You could have done this half an hour ago, you're saying?
I can't do it. That's, I think, you know, Ebenezer's working on that. He's,
Do it because you weren't a co-host.
Hmm?
You couldn't do it because you weren't a co-host.
I know, and he was gonna try to fix that.
Next time. Well, to invite you back to do this again.
So you have to invite back Annabelle, all your meetings. then.
But he hasn't done it yet,
Oh
so,
my God, we have to hire her. We need to invite her back.
These five.
so it looks like, huh? Yeah,
Okay, I guess we can do that. We do two things at the same time, Mary. So what should we, anything else next items on the agenda?
yeah, well, yeah, we need to, people need to mute.
Now that they've
Themselves.
been upgraded, then.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Thank you.
Thank you
I
so
think-
much.
boy, this has
We
been,
get extra
tough.
bagels.
sorry.
Good.
Okay, any other quick questions? Seeing none. I just want to go through, move the agenda, quickly. Old business, I don't think we have anything at this point to discuss.
Mary, thank you very much. And then I release the panelists.
I'll see you in October
Yeah, take care.
at
Thank you so
Waikoa.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Are you staying?
Yes, I'm staying.
Okay. New business, anything? Okay, future speakers, I have a couple of possibilities if people think that, we might want to have them. I've been going to different things during the summer and one thing and another, and people from this new Family Enrichment Center would like to do a presentation.
What is the family enrichment? Center?
I will read you on the flyer their mission. Our goal is our goal of the Family Enrichment Center is to empower families, children, youth, families twice, and community members with opportunities for success and self-reliance while reinforcing their sense of culture and self-identity. This is achieved through a holistic, culturally competent, family-based approach. I asked about their funding, and they said that ACS are the people who they get, not ACS, children's.
And that relates to this committee, how?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
And I want to talk to them further about what, aging committee has to really do with this unless they want to, explain how they involve the entire family, including the grandparents and the whoever's and the whatevers.
I mean,
It would be a brief presentation if anything, and,
it sounds not uninteresting, but
Yeah.
also not particularly related to this committee, so
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that's really the right thing for us.
yeah, that was my play on that as well. But they keep asking me, so I said, let me bring it to the committee. The other folks, there's a research program at Columbia University, NYP Hospital.
What kind of?
Conducting a project using community-based participatory research methodology that entails bringing mind-body therapies such as yoga and breathing exercises to folks who are impacted by chronic stress and its negative effects.
Again,
Vern Hertzberg is the instructor for that
Oh.
group. And they want to reach out to community organizations and create a project together. So,
okay,
I'm sorry.
So we could,
We'll
I
check it
think-
then, and then what is, would you have a suggestion here for an upcoming thing?
yeah,
there's one community organization that seems interesting, but not particularly related to the work of this committee, and there's another community that's the one you're looking at now, and there's another community organization, which is that blue flyer there,
mhm,
which seems a little bit more related
Yeah.
to the work of this committee, so I would guess pretty much anything Fern has to present is gonna be of interest and is gonna be related. So-
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
one is, this one is Fern,
No, the other one.
these,
one is Vern.
yeah, that one there.
even though it says Krishna. Community-based participatory research. Okay,
Krishna?
Yeah.
As in hiring?
They also want to, they're talking about wanting to present at the at the seniors exercise group at the Armory too, so.
Okay.
Leo,
Yeah, this is a suggestion. Over the last, I guess, few months, DOT has installed a plaza, right, next to the community board,
right there,
right there.
there's some noise we've heard.
Haven Plaza, yeah,
So I was gonna suggest that maybe, it's so it become a resource, and I think that it's important maybe to utilize it as a way that will benefit the committee, for example. And so I was saying that in terms of maybe a meeting, one of those dates could be selected as a, set up some sort of community senior resource day where, the committee would invite, other services that provide, other agencies that provide services to seniors and have something sort of gathered, in that plaza, like inviting the community. As part of this committee. As you know, Mary, we partnered with the district attorney's office, not too long ago,
Right.
in the summer.
Yep.
And we had a elder abuse, I guess, a workshop for the day. And it was tremendously, sort of, you got a lot of visitors, a lot of people came. It's a small space, it was a small space. But something like that, which is wide open.
small
Again.
space, we've got 200 people going for the exercise group over there now that the work is being done in the Armory.
Yeah, so, that, we focus on seniors, the DA's office did a great job putting
Yeah.
this all together. And again, that is something that could be taken advantage of by having the plan.
Mm.
The focus is just on seniors.
Could we do a meeting there.
I was thinking about, I
Could
don't know
we
if we can
do
do all
instead of-
this fun
I
stuff
don't know
though.
that we could.
The
I mean,
technology won't work outside.
Yeah, but could we do, instead of having a hybrid
You can.
meeting inside? Yeah, we actually, you can.
Use
Use the Wi-Fi?
You take the.
The laptop,
The owl.
the owl,
Laptop and the owl,
Could we
and then
have
use the wall as the screen.
yeah,
a senior?
I was
mean,
thinking
'cause
about
the
that last
senior
night,
Resources fair, that could be actually really kind of fun and interesting. I think it would be hard to get it, I mean, not impossible, but hard to get it together for the October meeting.
Yeah,
but it's gonna get cold soon though.
maybe
I
we can
mean,
consider
it
it for the
wouldn't be-
spring.
Wouldn't be that hard. You invite a bunch of people and they either show up or they don't. And,
What's the,
Julio, I hate to volunteer people, but it sounds
know,
like
the
you
only-
know what you're talking about. So if you wouldn't mind running point on making sure the tech piece works, it sounds like you understand how that works. We
You know what,
could have
the
it be pretty
acoustics are
successful.
difficult.
that's what I was gonna ask.
We have,
Mm.
speakers and microphones for the exercise group because, we have music and then we have the leaders, coordinating the exercises and stuff verbally as well as physically, but when we have the doctors doing their presentation, it's very difficult to understand what they're saying.
Yeah, but I think it's the senior aim high is doing it at the Haven Plaza,
Right.
but this would be at the Audubon Plaza.
Oh, you're talking about the Audubon Plaza.
which is
Okay,
connected to
gotcha.
to the board here.
And is it reasonably quiet?
I'm sorry.
No,
It's way more, it's way quieter.
It's very quiet. I just had like something to drink there before coming to a meeting. It's like, you hear the, crickets.
Dengue.
Yeah, there's like nobody there. It's actually a really sweet space. And even though it's kind of. It's kind of a big deal it feels like a big thing to get something, oh my goodness, next month, that's so quick, but. It's really just a matter of sending the invites out, telling people we're gonna do this. And whoever shows up, shows up. And if somebody who actually understands how to run the tech is running that tech, that seems to be our biggest problem.
Right.
So not that I'm drafting you for every meeting, but if you know how to make that
Yeah, I
happen.
think our
I feel
meeting is
like
probably the
doing it-
best one, because it's 10 o'clock in the morning, it's
Right.
7 o'clock meeting at night, it's gonna get dark, that's
Yeah.
not the smartest thing to do either.
And doing it in
Yeah.
October, I think we have a very good possibility of the weather being decent.
Yeah,
That all
We're
said,
in the beginning,
I
yeah.
think we can actually, our next meeting, isn't that Erev Rosh Hashanah?
October 3rd, yeah, it sounds right.
So it's Rosh Hashanah, it's the first day of Rosh Hashanah or it's
I
Erev
think
Rosh
it's-
Hashanah?
Starts that
Thursday,
night, I think,
Friday.
right? Because I was
Thursday,
looking
Friday,
at it.
Rosh Hashanah. So
Do we have to move the meeting?
I'm not gonna be here, so I think we usually do, right?
We
Mhm.
move the meeting if the meeting is on a holiday. We don't
Yeah, on
move
a
the
holiday.
meeting if it's not on a holiday.
The 3rd is the first day of Rosh Hashanah,
Oh, so if it's the first day, we ain't
so we're
doing
gonna do it
that.
the 10th then.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could do it October, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we should update Ebenezer.
It's
We're
October
gonna do it
3rd,
the 10th.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, so October
Oh, but
third
then
is
it's
actually a
a
holiday,
holiday.
so we can't have it on October third, but we could
Got
have it on October tenth.
Yeah.
I knew there was something else I wanted to
If
read.
you bring a birthday cake,
It's your birthday?
yes.
Okay,
10
well, it'll
done.
be 2 days after my birthday, so I will bring
There
a
you go.
birthday cake. You got it. So 10-10 wins, no pun intended.
Yeah. Wow. You're good.
Yeah, that's why they pay me the big bucks.
Okay, so listen, we should make sure that Ebenezer knows this also, because the calendar now says the 3rd.
Right.
Yeah, so that needs to change.
Uh-huh.
But I think that could be fun and interesting and engaging.
Yeah,
So can I ask you, so for the 10th, are you looking to host a meeting or you're inviting sort of community partners to resource?
Inviting community partners to resource, and we would have, not much of a meeting. There wouldn't be, the
Yeah.
agenda would be the resource fair.
okay. I can let have these family people come. This
Yeah.
organization, I'll let them come, because they love the table.
Yeah, if they want to
They're all
table,
over the
that's
place.
fine.
Bring your own table?
Yes, they would have to bring their own table.
YOT?
Well, I guess we could
BYO.
talk to Allianza that breaks the tables down.
What was that?
So you could also speak to Allianza, down to the second floor. they have tables.
Yeah, but the senior, the senior centers can come. So I have a
Hmm.
question in terms of if we're doing this as a hybrid, what's the part that would be broadcast? Like, there isn't a particular discussion item. Couldn't we just have a so here's the thing. Because we'd be having it on not the usual day,
Uh-huh.
any member who
Yeah.
cannot attend in person is
Is
excused anyway.
Right,
So I feel like we're not running afoul of our hybrid policy. I mean, if people wanna drop in, but it's not like there's something to participate in, because there isn't like a discussion.
exactly. So then we don't need to worry about this stuff.
So I think we don't have to worry about this stuff.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing, now that this is a 10. I do have a conflict, and I think some of you might also end up having a conflict, because the hospital is planning to hold its first community appreciation breakfast from 9 to 11 that day.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm,
So it worked for me, but
right.
Okay.
not on the 10th.
Could we have it later in the day? If we're changing the day, is there any reason why we can't change the time? Could we
I have no
it at
objection to that.
11:30 or noon? I'm spitballing here. Thoughts?
Tim?
I don't think Julio is gonna be around though to help set up the technology, if he's gonna be up at the
Mm,
breakfast.
Well, we could
Yeah,
sort of
true.
bridge it, but I think also some folks.
Richard has a
Richard?
Question, so where is the breakfast?
It's gonna be in the hospital at
Hmm.
on 165th and Fort Wash.
Okay, and where exactly is the next like fair slash meeting?
If you walk out of this, if you're
Think of
standing
it.
at the door.
You
of
saw it.
the
Oh, the little plaza.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the plaza.
All right, so that's not that.
Mhm.
That's what we're suggesting.
Richard, go ahead.
I can only speak for one person here, but something that goes into noontime on October 10th, I can't do.
Okay,
For lunch.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
blocked from about 11:30 to 2:30 that day.
Okay.
All right, well, let's do it.
can somebody reach into my walker and pull out it's a calendar book and then underneath my pocketbook, yeah. Let's see.
Thanks.
Would we want to change, well, that would be tough for me to change the day of the meeting.
Got a lot of holidays that you're working around,
Mm,
That too, yeah, but, I'm thinking,
but I mean, you could. As long as it's not gonna be on the 3rd, which it's not, it could be on
saying that don't do it Thursday.
it could be on the 7th or the 8th.
oh,
No, it can't be on the 7th is a holiday,
it is,
isn't it? In-
I have nothing on here.
October, that Monday,
Uh-huh.
October 7th, and October 7th, we're doing the. It's not, that's a Monday, it's not a holiday.
Okay, so when's Indigenous Peoples' Day? Is that the 14th? Yeah, it's the second Monday. So you could do it on the 8th. Yeah, October.
I can't
7th.
do it on the 8th,
Okay, how about the
Okay.
9th?
of my co-executive meeting.
I think.
I could do it later on.
Typically, when we move meetings, we just move
But-
them to a week later, the
Yeah,
same
usually we
thing.
move them to a
Yeah,
week later,
right.
so, but just because. But sometimes we do something completely different, which happens with, often happens with Passover and the high holidays,
Mhm.
because it's just such a moving target throughout the calendar. I agree that October 7th is not a great day. I personally would not love having a meeting that day.
Okay.
but we could do it. If we're moving the date, we can also move the time. You know, we could do it in theory, in the afternoon, for example.
When?
The 10th, the 8th, the
I could do-
9th,
Well, no, the 8th, I can't do it all.
I see.
What if we sent it further down the line to spring, we can, you know, have more time to,
There's two different things. One is the date and one is the location, right?
well, I mean.
Because the later in the month, the weather is gonna get colder
I'm talking about later in the year. I'm talking about springtime, maybe April.
for the research
May.
fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's what I,
There's
that's,
that, but
that
we,
was my thought too. but in terms-
irrespective of what
Where,
we're doing in our
when?
meeting, we still need to figure out when are we having our meeting?
But I was
Because,
just gonna take that factor out of it,
uh-huh,
you know.
okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Again, so who can't do 10 AM on the 10th? Other than-
No, because probably some of us are gonna get invited to this thing too.
That's what, that starts at what time?
It starts at 10.
Starts at 10.
Yes,
Okay.
so the morning of the 10th, I think, is not gonna be good because
Yeah.
most community board members.
Oh, Richard, I'm sorry.
What's up?
I wanted to leave this in your office.
Can you
Uh,
mute this person, please?
maybe over there.
I gotta run to the bank. I'll be back, okay?
Can you mute?
Richard,
Well, we've only been doing Zoom for 4 years.
Okay, so not the 10th, and what about the 9th? Where we at with the 9th?
But we could do the afternoon of the 10th
I could do the afternoon of the 9th
also.
also.
I cannot do the night, but
You can do the 9th.
We should just decide.
Are you
a date.
flexible or
I'm
you're
open.
not, I don't hear
Yeah,
you
no,
Yeah.
I have.
objecting?
I can do either
So like
the
a 1
9th,
o'clock or
I
whatever,
can
4
do
o'clock?
either the
or
9th or the 10th, and in the interest of establishing a quorum, I think we do need to do it on a date when everybody
Right.
here can make it, because I
Mhm.
think that's the committee.
So I'm available for you guys.
Richard, you said you can't do it on the
What if we
10th,
do,
right?
time, if Julio, you think should be done by 12?
Oh, yeah, by 11.
Richard?
By 11.
But it would be wise to keep people in the area instead of going home and coming back if
Correct.
they're gonna go to that. So what if we did 12 on the 10th?
Richard?
For the 10th, at this
Yeah.
point, 11:30 to 2:30 is not doable on the 10th. It's for something not finalized, but it's not under my control.
Got it.
Okay.
Because the
But
rest of us can-
as much as we love seeing you, if you were able to come in person, that would be great, but if you're attending on Zoom as you are now, you don't count for quorum. So from the perspective of quorum, that doesn't actually change things, because like you do not count for today's quorum.
I think I have it.
Yeah. Okay, so we,
So
what are we at? We're, most of us can probably do 12 on the
12
10th.
on the 10th?
And,
Yeah.
Maybe something, maybe you, Julio, you bring over a whole entourage.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
Tell them the festivities continue.
Community Board 12.
So then, does it make sense, given that we have a time that works for enough people to establish quorum, that we go ahead and try and do a modest resources fair? No?
When, at this thing?
Or do we just have the same meeting that we have here, which we do not at the moment have an agenda? I have no preferences either way.
Yeah, I don't know. Mary? Well, either way, we need an agenda. So
I think that, get the research folks probably to come
great, okay, fine. So the Fern should present in,
to present on the
In
10th, and we can do the resource fair
October.
in the spring.
Fantastic.
'cause-
I love this
yeah,
for us.
Okay,
Resource fair in the spring, Fern presenting on 10/10 at noon, and I'm bringing cake.
right, and it'll be here on the table like I brought
What kind
breakfast.
of-
You guys need to take.
now James is getting interested.
I don't know, will you, Yosef, will you be here or will
To be
you?
able to be here.
Okay, so then, I don't know, but it will be kosher.
Oh.
Carrot cake is always.
I should be
Okay.
able to be here. I hope.
Well, I mean, because if
Hey.
you're not gonna be here, I would bake something, but I don't have a kosher kitchen, so.
Yeah, it'll be fine either way. I try not to eat cake. Okay, anything else, Mary?
Um. Okay, so I think no. Anybody have anything else? Julio,
I have no.
I don't know if this has to do very much with the aging committee, but we never know what's gonna happen. What's happening with the block on Broadway?
Oh, okay, so I'll give you an update on that. So there, as you recall, as most of you are members, back when Richard Lewis was chair of this community board, there was a proposal by the hospital to build a facility on 169th, 170th, this with a stretch of storefronts. And it was scheduled to be, as the plan, the design at that time, were the creation again of the first floor being storefronts, second floor an early childhood hub, and then the rest of the building was a mix of employee housing and what we call accommodations, guest accommodations, which is similar to a hotel for patients and visitors that were coming to the hospital. Unfortunately, COVID hit, everything was locked down. Unfortunately, priority has changed. But we're back on focus of the building, but quite changed. So the hospital will start demolition of the storefronts. Sometime, most likely will start next week where they start staging.
I see them emptying.
Staging, I did speak to the vendors about it so they could, be aware of it, not get blindsided that this was coming. So the hospital will go in there, start demolition. Demolition will go from, say, September on through April, May of 2025. At that time, the hospital will turn over the property over to Columbia University. And Columbia will do then the actual construction on that site. The design of what it was presented back then may not change dramatically because the same architect that have been retained by the hospital to do the construction design of it will continue to work with Columbia on the design of that building. My understanding at this point is that it will be again storefronts on the ground level. And then above will be housing for the medical students at NeoPresbyterian Columbia.
What about the childhood hub?
So there will be about 300, that would try to house between 350 to 400 students at that location. The early childhood hub, we continue to work with our community partners, which were basically a lot of the daycare centers in the area. And looking for a place where that early childhood will still be built and constructed. So, the hospital does remain committed to the early childhood hub.
Wait a minute, so 350 to 400 early childhood?
No, still, those are
Oh, that's-
students, medical students.
I see, and visiting patients or family of patients, that's not gonna be a feature?
Right, so that is.
That's not a feature that, patients and families having that as a resident of possible like hotel.
Yes, so the original plan was to have what we call guest accommodations.
Yeah.
And, that would be for visitors, patients come.
Yes.
So that's no longer the case. We will not be doing that.
So let me see if I got this straight. The original plan had 4 components.
Right.
Ground floor commercial, second floor, some kind of early childhood, something or other, daycare, after school, something. Student housing and
Employee
student employee housing and guest accommodations. So now 2 of the components, which both happen to be things that serve the community, are no longer a part of the plan, and this is gonna be, other than the ground floor commercial, which does serve the community, this is gonna be something that benefits the university and hospital, but not the community. Am I not stating
Well,
that
that's
correctly?
not necessarily the case. I mean,
Okay.
The hospital remains committed to ensuring that the early childhood hub does, that is built within the community. As you mentioned.
Richard, can you mute yourself, please?
you know, the storefronts, and then the remaining of that will be for medical students, not the employees.
Oh.
Medical students.
So this right here is you're selling and I'm not buying.
No,
it. I mean, that doesn't really.
I'm not,
That's back to
listen, I'm not saying anything. I mean, I'm just letting you know that, you know, I think at the end of the day, to me, it's, if I put on my housing hat on, it really benefits to somebody in the community, because the last thing I want is to have some medical students
Taking up all the housing.
go and rent a rent stabilized apartment. And then, you know, being there a year or two, and then leaving and then renting at somebody else where the rent goes up.
Sure,
So I think-
you are correct that does benefit the community. And in an important way, and also two things that would benefit the community as well, like housing for people who work at the university, at the hospital, and the early childhood center,
Mhm.
that they are gone and that you're committed to building it somewhere else, like, sure, but it's just that can is getting kicked down the road and enters firmly in the, I'll believe it when I see it department. It's just frustrating, man.
Well, you know, I don't think
Yeah.
the project that's started, I mean, when COVID hit,
Uh,
everything stopped.
Not your
And
fault.
I think that, you know, to be fair to those who were working in the early childhood, they have continued those discussions and continue to work as a collaborative throughout this period. So it isn't something that, you know, the early child discussion sort of stopped with COVID. They continue to have those engagements and, you know, that collaboration without having a physical space. That space will come, and I could probably say maybe earlier than this building is.
Okay,
I move we adjourn the committee meeting of the aging for the concerns of the aging, and if you want to continue the discussion about the
You bet.
project,
second,
off-site, well, not even off-site, you can stay here, but outside of the meeting.
There's a motion to
yes.
adjourn,
I agree.
seconded.
Okay, so we are adjourning this meeting at
Yeah.
12:03 PM. Thank you, everybody.
All of you join online at the technical difficulties here.
thanks, Jen.